It's that time again. It is the September's Makers Box, and I am so excited for this one, you guys, because I opened up additional spots and I hit that number. So I want to thank each and every one of you that joined my subscription. And for those of you that didn't, I will be opening up additional spots in February of 2025. So just keep in mind, the only way to grab a spot now, because it is full, is if anyone does cancel between September and October. What I always do is I have a wait list, and anyone on the wait list can grab a spot. So if you see this video and you guys want to get in on the Makers Box, definitely get in on my wait list so that if any spots open, that you guys get first dibs. So that will be in the description below. Now, the September box. Every time you get a Makers Box, the first thing you get, oh, I'm almost dropping stuff. The first thing that you receive when you open up your box is your postcard. And on this postcard, there are some key information. First and foremost, it talks about the September box and gives you a little inspiration. And then 5 ways that you guys can show support of my small business. And then on the back, you will have the QR code, which will be linked to this video. And then all the items in the box. So the names of the paper, the colors in the box, and then another little bit of inspiration on the bottom. Let's take a peek. So when you open up the box, the first thing you guys are gonna see are the papers. And the papers, you guys, I love them. So the first one is going to be your autumn Masterboard. And you guys, wait till you see what I do with this in this video. I love it. So you get autumn Masterboard, which is a exclusive Roycycle Decoupage Paper. So that one is awesome. Then you'll get autumn flannel. Oh, you guys, this is the best background. You can do so much fun things with this paper. And this is another exclusive paper only found in the Makers Box. And both of those are designed by Royce from Roycycle Decoupage Paper. Now, the next 2 are the painted photographers. And the first one is called Pumpkin Patch. You guys, I love that. This is like one of my favorite things. And only a few people have said they don't like the 3-ups. Well, I love the 3-ups. You can do so many fun projects with 3 different images like this. So I will always have a 3-up in my box. So this one, you guys, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. Hand painted by Connie herself. And then the next one is called Autumn Light. And this one is so cool. I love lanterns. And I love this. I did something really different in this video. I was not going to put it in. I was going to actually, just start over. But I decided no. I was trying to find my inner Connie. And she is an amazing painter. And I can honestly say I still have a lot to learn. So that is called Autumn Light. I love it. So then I always put a little bit of, I always put a bonus item in there. And on one of my lives, somebody asked for, I believe it's called the Highlander cow. And I included, now this is a napkin, which can be used as like tissue paper. So that is in there. You get 4 different images of that cow. And then the other napkin I included was this as well. So I thought this was really fun too. A great background piece. And then you guys, I had an early bird bonus because I opened up my membership and I wanted to create something for each and every existing member and any of the new members that signed up by Wednesday at midnight. Well, I woke up on Thursday morning and somebody had subscribed like early Thursday morning, and I felt so guilty. I'm like, how can I not give it to all of you? And so anyone that's subscribed for September or had been a subscriber previously all received my early bird bonus. And you guys, this is when my husband said I was a bit cray cray. I hand stamped everyone a bracelet. So after I started, I'm like, what do I want as the saying? What do I want as the saying? And it is have courage and create. And so many of you I have heard say that they don't want to show off what they've created. They feel stuck, and I just want you all to have the courage and just create. Create something that you love, and yes, I just want you to go out and create. So that is what I hand stamped for each and every one of you, so you guys can all wear it and then think of me. But yes, if you count the letters, I stamped a lot of letters, you guys. I did this for hours, and I don't want anybody to feel like, or I'm not going to try to make anybody feel bad, but I ended up getting really sick, and I did this while I was really sick because I love each and every one of you. So just remember that. Now, after you get all those goodies, you still have more, and you get paint. So this month I chose willow, and you may be thinking, well, why willow? Couple things. I loved green. I always think of like, the greens are changing into fall colors. This is perfect for like a Halloween green too. So I can't wait to show you what I've done with this. And also with the Sweet Pickins oil waxes, those, oh, you guys, just change the color. You can darken it up with the black oil wax or the dark oil wax. You can completely change it with the white oil wax. So I'm really digging those oil waxes. Now, the other thing you get are 2 DIY paint colors and 2 Fusion mineral paint colors. This month I went with Summer Crush, which is a beautiful orange. I love it. And then Farm Fresh, you guys. Both of those are some of my favorites. Plus, Connie used those in her rice papers. For Fusion, guys, I chose Woodwick, which was perfect with Royce's papers. I made a boo-boo. So I did not have my glasses on when I was placing my Fusion order. And my mom's like, don't tell anybody that you're blind. I'm blind, you guys. I had told Fusion even that I was going to use soapstone. I was going to order soapstone. I put it on the card, soapstone. Soapstone and Seaside are right next to each other. So you guys ended up getting Seaside, which I still love. I think whether it was soapstone or Seaside, they both go great with the box. So a benefit that I didn't pick a color or didn't accidentally order a color that didn't go with the box. So you guys know where my mind was going and what you guys actually got, but let's dive in now to the different projects. I know you're gonna love them.
For project 1, I was thrifting at the local Goodwill and I saw these and normally would pass them up. They were $3.99 each, but they were 50% off that week, so I grabbed them because my vision was I wanted to use Parked on there. And Parked did not fit, so they got put back in my stash until I saw autumn flannel. The moment I saw autumn flannel, I'm like, I am going to use this paper on these 3 pieces. The first thing I'm doing is prepping the project. I am using White Swan from DIY Paint, and I am going to apply 1 even coat of White Swan to all 3 of these images. And the reason I'm doing this is for 2 purposes. First off, I want to cover up all the coloring on here. I don't want any of that blue or gray or black to pop through. And when you apply white behind a decoupage paper or a rice paper, it really makes your image pop. So I am going to let this dry very thoroughly, and then we're going to come back and we are going to start getting this project started. This project did require 2 pieces of the autumn flannel paper. As a perk of being a subscriber of the Maker's Box, I do send out an email mid-month and you get the option to purchase additional papers. So if you have a project in mind and want additional papers for that project, you're going to be able to get those as a subscriber. The first thing I'm doing though is cutting down my paper, and I always have a bit of an overhang. That way, as I'm applying the paper, if by chance it moves, there's always a little wiggle room. It's time to apply the decoupage paper, so I am using DIY's liquid patina, and if you guys have been watching for a while, you'll know that's my go-to decoupage medium. I'm also using a misting bottle. So the key here is you want to make sure your paper is exactly where you want it before you start applying any liquid patina or decoupage medium. Because I'm working with a lot of straight lines in this plaid, I really want to make sure that it's straight and it doesn't look all wonky. So once I do that, then I pull my paper back and I apply an even coat of the liquid patina. And that is key. You want it to be really nice and smooth. So when you lay your paper down, you don't have any like creases in that medium, which will cause additional wrinkles. So once I get my medium down where I want it, I take the misting bottle and I mist the paper to activate the fibers in the paper. Again, this will help eliminate a lot of wrinkles. Once I do that, I lay my paper back down and I start smoothing it out. And you do have a bit of work time. What I can say is the recycled paper is a little bit more delicate than a rice paper, but just don't overwork your piece and you'll be fine. You can still smooth it all out and without tearing. Then from there, I just pick my paper up and I start working my way down, applying a nice even coat of the liquid patina and then, misting it, the paper, and then working my way down. Here is Autumn Masterboard, and you guys, I love when Royce creates these masterboards. They're jam-packed full of so many amazing images, and when I saw this, I'm like, oh, I love it. It is just beautiful, and I decided I wanted to use 3 chunks of the paper, one for each of the pictures. So I am using just a scrap piece of wood. I'm laying it down over the image that I want to use. I'm then taking a cup of water and a paintbrush, and I am using this board as a template. So I want all these pieces to be roughly the same size. If it's a little off, it's okay, but I did not want a really crisp, clean edge with a scissors. So I am using the board as a template, and I am just going to basically trace around the board with water. Once I do that, I am going to remove the board and then I'm going to tear my paper, and it's going to give it a really nice, and not a crisp, clean cut like a scissors. It's going to give it a more of a wispy look, and that's what I'm going for. I'm going to do that with all 3 images, and then you guys, there is still a ton of paper left over for other projects. I'm using White Swan, and I am going to apply one even coat of White Swan to the back side of each of the decoupage pieces. This is going to help them really pop off of that autumn flannel. Now that it's dry, I lay it down, figure out exactly where I want it, and we're going to do the exact same thing that we did with the autumn flannel decoupage paper. I'm going to apply just a nice even strip of the liquid patina, smooth out my paper, and work my way down. Once the piece is completely dry, I'm taking a piece of sandpaper and I am going to remove the excess paper. I'm just in a downward motion, sanding along all the edges to give it a really crisp, clean line. To finish off the edges, I'm using Little Black Dress from DIY Paint, and I'm going to apply one even coat around all the edges. And you guys, I just think that it really brings this whole piece together. After I'd finished painting, I was looking at the prints and I felt like it needed just a little something something. I love this new transfer from IOD called Etiquettes, and I thought, yes, the look and feel of these pieces were a bit rustic, but I wanted to add a little bling. And the one thing I love about Etiquette, it has these beautiful fonts in between all the images. So I cut out a bit of font and I applied it to each of the images. And then I thought there were pieces of like scroll work, and then I decided to add a bit of scroll work to each piece as well. And I think that that just completely tied all the pieces together and really finished it off. For project 2, I'm using Sweet Pickins milk paint in the color Willow. You'll need a whisk, a scoop, and you'll take 1 part milk paint to 1 part warm water. Then take that whisk and really whisk it up good. You can use an emergent blender, but honestly, the whisk does the job. Just make sure that you get as many clumps out as possible, and then you'll want the consistency of a melted milkshake. I let it sit for approximately 10 minutes, and then I start applying the milk paint. And the key is just to have a nice even layer of milk paint over the project. In areas where you have a little bit more thickness, you'll find that you may end up getting a little bit more crackle. Some other tips is if you want no crackle, no chippy goodness, you'll want to add extra bond from Sweet Pickins to get that look and feel. Otherwise, milk paint is very inconsistent, so you'll never know what the final outcome is or how it's going to react to your piece. So what I've done here is I'm going to apply 1 even coat over the entire piece, let it dry, and then come back and sand. I'm using just a piece of sandpaper and I'm going to randomly sand here and there just to make that white pop through just a little bit more in areas where there was not a complete reaction, where the milk paint chipped away or crackled. And you can also accomplish this by using a hand sander if you'd like. I am choosing just to use the sandpaper. It just gives me a little bit better control. And if there was, like I said, a little bit more white that I wanted to pop through, I just work an area just a little bit more. But overall, I love the look and feel of how this piece has turned out. If you have not yet tried the oil wax from Sweet Pickins, you guys are definitely missing out. I I tried it for the very first time when I started offering Sweet Pickins, and I have been slightly obsessed since then. And the oil waxes come in 4 different sheens. It comes in dark oil wax, black oil wax, white, or the clear. And each of those colors completely change the look and feel of the Sweet Pickins milk paint. So depending on the look that you're going for is what you're going to choose. I decided I wanted to add just a little bit of darkness. I wanted to get into those nooks and crannies of the frame, and so I am using the dark oil wax. I'm applying 1 even coat. I'm going to let it sit for roughly 10 minutes, and then we're going to come back and wipe away the excess. Now that it's been sitting for roughly 10 minutes and it's really absorbed into the Sweet Pickins milk paint, I'm using a piece of paper towel and just rubbing all over just to wipe away any extra or excess oil wax. And oh, you guys, I just think this really transformed the entire look and feel of this entire piece. The white frame was just not doing this piece any justice, and I love that green. I think it just really makes that vintage metal piece pop out of the frame, and then that oil wax, getting into all the nooks and crannies just made the piece look and feel vintage and old. For project 3, I have had this bean pot sitting around for quite a while. I had been so excited to have found the top to go with it, not even realizing when I bought it that it had a crack. I am using Farm Fresh, which is part of the Maker's Box, and I am going to apply 1 even coat of Farm Fresh to the entire piece, let it dry, and then come back and add a second coat. Now, if you have not worked with DIY paint yet, you guys, it is a clay-based paint and can be applied to virtually any surface. And once it cures and hardens, it is rock solid. You are not going to get that chippiness. So you can basically, like I said, apply it to any surface. DIY paint can be reactivated with water, so you will need to seal it with some type of top coat, whether that be DIY's Big Top or a wax. It does need to be sealed, otherwise it will be reactivated. I decided that this would be the perfect image to tie this whole piece together, but I didn't want to apply just the full piece, so I'm going to take a bit of water and a paintbrush, and I'm going to trace around the outside edge of it, and then I'm going to tear it. With rice paper, there are fibers inside, so when you do this, it like has this little wispy edge, and I just love this look versus the crisp, clean lines. I line it all up where I want it on the pot, and then I'm going to use liquid patina, and I am going to do just like I do with the recycled paper. I am going to have a starter strip. Now, this might be a little bit more difficult because it is on not a flat surface, but more of like a rounded surface. So I end up getting a couple little wrinkles in the pumpkins, but I'm okay with that because pumpkins are not perfect anyway. And so I just tried to embrace that imperfection on here and I smooth it out the best I can. I then apply liquid patina to the entire container, and liquid patina can be used as a decoupage medium, but it also can be used as a sealer as well. One thing I did notice is that there was just a little bit of an edge around the entire piece, and I did not like that. I felt like I wanted it to blend more. So I took a fine tip paintbrush with a little bit more Farm Fresh, and I went in and I was trying to blend with that and then feather it out. I was a little concerned because I already had sealed the entire piece that it would not blend perfectly. And in the end, I still think you can see that. So I am trying to figure out how I can possibly disguise it a little bit more. I thought about going in maybe with a dark wax. So in the comments, you guys, let me know what you think or how you would try to fix that. I feel like this piece is not completely finished because of that, and or maybe I should just embrace it and realize that I've added this to this container and I should be okay with it. Let me know in the comments. For project 4, I was thrifting at the bins and I found this and I thought it would be a perfect piece of home decor. And initially I was just going to paint it up or do something like that with it. And then I was like, no, I am going to add a bit of this decoupage paper to the front of it. And I think just by adding this simple piece of paper to it, it will completely change the look and feel of this piece. I'm using White Swan and I'm going to apply one even coat over the entire front piece and then it will be ready for the decoupage paper. Sometimes projects don't need to be extensive. They can be as easy as adding just a piece of the decoupage paper. If you want to get more creative, you can definitely do that. But honestly, sometimes simple is just better. And so I'm lining this up and then I'm using liquid patina and I am going to do just like I do on all my projects. Start with a starter strip, apply a nice even coat of the liquid patina, and then lay down my decoupage paper. And the only difference here is that there are little kind of like grooves in this project, and I want to make sure I get that paper in those grooves. So I just take my paintbrush and just really make sure that when I'm smoothing it out, I smooth it into the grooves. The last thing I do is I take my piece of sandpaper and sand away the excess. And like I said, you guys, this was a super simple, easy way to do a thrift flip, but it completely changed the look and feel of this piece. And I absolutely think it's going to look perfect in anyone's home decor. As I was looking at it, I felt like it needed just a little something extra. So I'm taking my IOD ink pad in black and I'm just adding just a little bit of that black ink to the entire perimeter, and that will completely finish this off. And I love doing that. It's a simple, easy way to just add a bit more distressing, and it was something I learned back in my scrapbooking days. For project 5, I am using Willow, which is a Sweet Pickins milk paint. And again, I'm using a whisk to whisk it. I am going to use 1 part of water to 1 part Sweet Pickins milk paint. Whisk it up, and then you should let it sit for roughly 10 minutes. And it should be the consistency of a melted milkshake. I found this container a while ago while I was thrifting, and this is the second one that I found like this, and I had to grab it because the first one turned out so stinking cute. So this one we're going to do something completely different than I did with the last one. We are going to paint it in Willow. That is the very first thing. And the question that I received on a live recently is, can you use Sweet Pickins milk paint on metal? And the answer is yes, you can. So I'm going in and I'm applying 1 even coat to the entire piece. Then I come back, and in some of the areas where the coverage was not the best, I added almost like a half a coat, or I just kind of touched it up. Now that it's totally dry, I brought it back inside, and I'm using a piece of sandpaper, and I am just going to randomly sand all over. And in areas where there were little chips, it's going to take away the chippy part. So what happens is when Sweet Pickins reacts to your surface, it will kind of be like a little flaky. So by sanding it, you'll get rid of those excess flakes. And then in areas where I wanted to add a little bit more distress to it, I then just sand it like right on the very edges, or any of those raised surfaces. And then in other areas on this metal piece, it actually crackled. It was the perfect look and feel that I was going for, and I loved it. The one image that I wanted to use right away when I saw this masterboard was this beautiful owl. And I thought it was going to be the perfect addition to this beautiful container. So I'm using my paintbrush again with water, and I'm just going to trace around the entire perimeter of the owl. And then we're going to decoupage this onto this metal container. Typically, I like to paint the back of my decoupage paper to make it pop. On this project, I want it to blend a bit more. So what I'm doing is using liquid patina, my go-to decoupage medium. I lay down my paper and I do my starter strip. And again, just a nice even coat of the liquid patina. I lay out my paper, smooth it out, and I work my way down. I'm going to seal this entire piece with the liquid patina, and I want the entire piece to have that same sheen. And liquid patina can be used as a decoupage medium or a sealer. Next, I'm using the dark wax from DIY, and I love this wax. I dip my waxing brush in and I offload a bit on the cap. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start around the image, and I am going to work in the wax around the image and then wipe away some of the excess. I don't want it to be too dark, but I want it just dark enough. So I add the dark wax where I want it to really be, and then I take my, I use just a piece of paper towel, guys, and I kind of wipe away some of the excess and then blend the rest of the wax in the piece. And I hit up all the areas that I really want to have the dark wax. So you can see there's like some crackle, and I really want that crackle to stand out. So I add a bit more wax to those areas, and then again, wipe away the excess, and then I blend it all in. And I'm really going for a, more of like a Halloween type of look and feel with this piece. For project 6, I had this old shovel lying around, and I knew that I wanted to do something with it. And when I saw Connie's papers with these pumpkins, I had to add those to this old vintage shovel. I take my paintbrush and some water and I just start going around the very edge of the pumpkins. There's not a lot of space to work with on the shovel, and I wanted both pumpkins to be part of the project. And I go in and I'm really just make sure that I get in there close enough to the edge, but I don't want to tear away any of those pumpkins. After working very diligently and making sure I didn't damage any of the pumpkins, I think I've done a good job and I like how it's fitting on here. So I'm going to use liquid patina to apply it to the metal, and I am just applying one even coat of the liquid patina to the entire metal shovel. No starter strip this time, guys, and I'm just going to lay it down and then start smoothing out all the wrinkles and really get it to fit to the curve of that shovel. And once I do that, I'm going to let it dry very thoroughly, and then we're going to do a bit of blending. I'm not done with this. Yes, I could just apply this and be done, but I want it to look like I painted these pumpkins on here. So I'm using a bit of Farm Fresh and White Swan, and I'm going to try to bring out my inner Connie and try to blend and make that background look very similar to how she has it. The funny thing is, you guys, I finished this project up. I'm totally happy with it. And I took a little mini break. I very rarely go out to Facebook, but I did. And Connie was live. And guess what she was painting? A pumpkin on a shovel. I almost started laughing because I'm like, wow, her and we were on the same wavelength. I'm going to seal the entire piece with liquid patina and then add one final touch, and this shovel makeover will be complete. The final touch is I want to add a bit of ribbon to the very top of the shovel, and I love how this like burnt orange works so perfectly with that summer crush in that pumpkin. And you guys know how much I love gardening. I am so torn on whether I should keep this for myself. I love it, but do I really need it? Yeah. For project 7, I was on a whole pumpkin kick there. I saw these at the bins. I grabbed them. I thought they look like pumpkins. I am going to just design them as pumpkins. I have a bunch of leftover paper from the first project that I did with the autumn plaid or autumn flannel. So what I decided to do is add a bit of flannel to each one of these pumpkins. The first step is I'm adding a bit of White Swan to each one. I'm just doing one coat and I'm going to let it dry, and then we're going to come back and we are going to add the decoupage paper. I line up my paper and I do as I always do. I pull the paper back, I add a starter strip, smooth my paper out. It's really that simple to decoupage, and I also missed it. Do not forget this step, you guys. It helps so much by activating the fibers in your paper and then work your way down. Once all your papers are completely dry, and that is key, you guys, I recommend your project being completely dry before you try to sand. Otherwise, you will tear your paper. And how do I know that? Because I have sanded items far too quickly and it has torn my projects. So, in a downward motion to get a really nice, crisp, clean edge, go around and sand it. Next, I'm using this product called Plastic Wood. I had bought it a while ago and it had dried up a bit. It was still a little pliable, but it was pretty dry. So what I did is I took a little bit and I put it on this scrap wood. I added a bit of water to it to like reactivate it, and I mixed it all up, and I am putting it in the holes on the side of these pumpkins. I don't know what the purpose of these holes were, but I wanted to fill them in because I wanted to paint the edges and I felt like it was taken away from the pumpkin. I'm using the color Woodwick Infusion, and I am going to paint the entire edge of the pumpkins. And Woodwick was the perfect color match to this paper, you guys. It looks so good. Initially, I had painted the stems a different color, but I thought Woodwick would be perfect. Now, I could have left the pumpkins as is, but I am loving the ephemeral type, which is a new IOD stamp. You guys, I love Kindest Regards. I love Le Courier, and this has now definitely gone in the lineup of my favorites. So what I'm doing here is I am just going to randomly stamp some different fonts, and we're going to just add a bit of font to each of these pumpkins. And I just think it gives it more of like a mixed media vibe, and just something more other than just a plaid pumpkin. For project 8, you guys, I love a good shelf sitter, and I always have chunks of wood lying around. I thought Connie's paper would be perfect on the shelf sitter. So the first thing I'm going to do is paint the front side White Swan from DIY because I really want that paper to pop. Next, I'm using Summer Crush, and this was one of the colors found in the maker's box. And I'm going to paint the edges and the very back of this piece Summer Crush. Next, I'm going to use liquid patina, and we are going to apply the rice paper to this block. And you guys, this is going to look like you hand painted these pumpkins on this little shelf sitter. It looks so authentic, and I love the way this piece is going to be turning out. Once it's dry, I just take my sandpaper, I sand away the excess rice paper to give it a nice crisp, clean line. And really, guys, this project could be complete right here, but we're gonna add a little something something. When IOD came out with the apothecary labels, I was so excited. I had been wanting them to create a stamp set that had smaller fonts for my small pieces. I love all their big fonts and their medium fonts, but they really needed a small font. And this one has 4 different fonts, plus you get all those other labels that are part of it. It's one of the best sets that they came out with. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out my saying on my project, pick it up with a thin mount. I'm going to use black ink from IOD, which is permanent, ink up my letters, and then stamp. One pro tip for you guys, when you're using these stamps, always, always, always put them back after you use them, and make sure you put that little backing over them as well. These stamps are really tiny and can be lost very easily. Believe me, I have lost my big sets of stamps. I set something on them and they stick to a different item and they can be lost for months. If you guys have been following for a while, you'll know that that happened to me a couple months ago. And when I was cleaning, I found it stuck to the bottom of another container. So think about these being so tiny. You don't want to lose one set or one stamp and then your set be ruined. For project 9, this is Connie's lantern from the Painted Photographer. She does these amazing designs, you guys. I love them. And when I saw this, I'm like, okay, I'm going to reach in and I am going to find my inner Connie, because I had a vision for this lantern, you guys. And I thought it was so cool. But I also had to break out some painting skills. And in the end, I almost did not put this project in this video, but I slotted it for the final project. And I wanted to showcase it because we are all not artists or painters, and we can only get better. So I reached out to Connie and I said, I think I need a little help with this project to fix it up. But she said she loved it. I think she was being kind, but I'm gonna walk you through what I did in this project. First, I went around, I wanted just the lantern. I did not want any of the excess, so I used a bit of water and my paintbrush, and I just went in very close to the lantern, and then I tore the lantern out. I didn't want a really crisp, clean edge because of my vision. I wanted it to almost like blend into the background. When I found this sign, the letters were peeling off, and I just had assumed that they were going to come off very easy. Well, let me tell you guys, this was probably the longest part of the project, getting these letters off. I went around and many of them came off very easily, but there were a few that were not budging. So in the end, after I went around and I tried to get as many off, I ended up sanding them off. Do not, you see how I'm heat gunning this? Don't heat gun it, because that made them stick even more. So that was my first problem when I was trying to heat gun it, because I thought, oh, everyone tells me to heat gun it and it will loosen it up. It does not loosen it up. It almost makes it stick even more. It like burned it or melted it into the wood. So in the end, what I did is I brought it outside. I used my hand sander and I just hand sanded it all the way down. The first step of the project is I'm using Seaside from Fusion Mineral Paint, and I'm going to dry brush the Seaside on the whole back side of the project. I thought that it worked very well with the lantern. Plus, when I start showcasing my painting skills, you're going to notice that I really want the piece that I'm going to hand paint to pop off the paper or the project. A couple of the colors that I'll be working with today are Weathered Wood, Little Black Dress, and Crinoline, and those were all colors found in the previous makers boxes. And what I'm doing here first is I'm kind of drawing like an outline of the Grim Reaper. So this is really like part of his robe where his hand is going to be holding the lantern, and then on the other side is where he is going to be. And I start off just drawing a rough outline of him. Right there where I'm drawing, or I'm like starting to paint, that is going to be the part of his robe where his hand would be, and he's going to hold the lantern. And then on the other side is where his body is going to be. And I'm looking at this and, I had this vision, you guys, of how I wanted it to, the outcome of it. But because I am not a trained artist and I don't truly know proper probably blending skills and how to get like that look and feel of like the cape and having like waves of, you know, like how the cape lays and all that. I did the very best that I could. So again, I was not going to put this in this video, but I wanted to show you my process and what I did and how the outcome of this project. And really, I can only get better from here, right? So what I am trying to do is I am trying to add different dimension and texture to this. I'm adding a little bit of black. I want like the inside to be really dark. I then come up with the idea of taking some of the extra paper. I'm going to add some like orange eyes so you know that it's a Grim Reaper. And I just keep on. I keep on blending and building and adding water to blend a little bit more. And there are the eyes, you guys. I decide to do that. And then I need to blend him in. But in the end, am I proud of this? Yes, I am proud of this project because I stepped out of my comfort zone and I created something that I did not think I would accomplish or do. Do I have a bit to learn yet? Absolutely. And I think that even trained artists are continuing to learn. I am continuing to learn in every aspect of life. And I think this project is very unique. And is it exactly what it started off being? No. But again, I had the courage to create, you guys, and I had the courage to showcase something that I created that I think is probably not my best work, but it is something that I did. And I hope that you all have the courage to continue to create and make beautiful projects.
What did you guys think? I hope that you guys were completely inspired after watching today's video. And I hope you guys are loving the Maker's Box. And if you haven't already and you want to subscribe, like I said, get on that wait list. Then next month, if we do have anyone drop off, you will get first dibs. It always makes me sad when I have a few, cancel the subscription, but I completely understand. There are going to be cancellations. So it is to your benefit to be on the wait list so you can, nab one of those open spots because we are now at capacity. Super excited, and I want to thank each and every one of you who subscribed to the September box. And even if you are not a subscriber, definitely just think about how to use different papers or different paints that you may have. And I hope I've inspired you that way as well. Now, keep in mind, Friday, September 13th. Yes, Friday the 13th. I will be doing a live unboxing, so definitely join me for that. I want to see you guys. I will be kicking off a playlist, so I do have a creative team now that I send the boxes to, and then they all create videos. So definitely be watching for that. That will be at 10 o'clock, the same time I do the live unboxing on YouTube and Facebook. And then I am also kicking off a contest for each and every one of you that received the Maker's Box. So I'm kicking it off at 10 o'clock. It will be on my Facebook page. There will be a post. I will pin it to the top. Go in there and post your photos of projects that you've created with the September box. Whoever gets the most hearts or thumbs up will get additional papers in next month's box. So they'll get a set of papers in next month's box. So I'm so excited to be kicking that off and that you guys all join me for today's video. In the comments, let me know what your favorite thing about the Maker's Box is. If you don't have the Maker's Box, let me know what your favorite project was. All right, guys, we will see you next week. Bye-bye.